This is going to be a little tour of our home, of our property. And this is the private drive, Maritime Drive it's called. And so this, to our right, this is our property. And this is, it's completely surrounded by a hedge made out of Leland cypress trees. So I will come down here. This sign here, I believe, is for the entire neighborhood, Maritime Acres, not just us. So from where I stand to the steps going up to the house is roughly 1/8 of a mile. So you have these Leland cypress hedges on both sides. So they take up about, I guess, a 1/4 mile. Every 4 to 5 years, we hire a tree service, Pacific Northwest Tree Service, to come in and trim these up for us. They trim the tops and they trim the inside sides of them. And it takes a crew of maybe about 5 or 6 people a week to do this. A lot of heavy equipment comes in, and it's a pretty major thing. And when they finish, all the trimmings go into a grinder, and that goes into making this pile of mulch here. And then we use this for our gardens. So our projects this year, it looks like the island to the right here doesn't need very much as far as weeding goes and trimming. But you can see this island to the left, it has a bunch of weeds in it, and we need to mulch this island. We haven't mulched it for a while. So that'll be a project for this year. This is our garden area. You see we had to put a deer fence around it. We have a lot of deer that come in. And that upper 2x4, even though it's a 6-foot fence, they can jump that if they really wanted to. But having that upper 2x4, they see that and they don't attempt to. We haven't had any deer jump over this fence since we built it several years ago. So this first tree is a pear tree. It's a Bosch pear. And then this tree here is another pear tree. It's blooming up real nice here, budding up real nice. It's called a rescue pear. Rescue, just like it sounds, like someone rescued it. And they're really good and they're really big. This is just an ornamental bush. You can see these tree rings. All part of what we're going to have to do here is a lot of weeding. And the same with this rhododendron, which really has made a spectacular recovery over the last couple years. This is a cherry tree. Sometimes I get to eat them, and sometimes the birds eat them, most of them. So we'll see what happens this year. And then this is our favorite tree. This is a frost peach tree. You can see this one limb that is missing here. This is a major limb, and this one as well. The windstorm hit it and broke it off. So we'll see how it recovers this year. But a few years ago, we got over 500 peaches off of this tree. And they're great. We use them for smoothies. We freeze them and then use them for smoothies. So they work out good for that. Coming in here, this is our raspberries, this whole section. And the raised planter box behind is just a variety of vegetables. Carrots, spinach, a lot of beets, cucumbers. That's what that trellis in the center is for. Lemon cucumbers. They're really good. And they look like a lemon. So one cucumber is a good meal all by itself. I don't know if we'll, green onions, I don't know if we'll do radishes. We might do radishes this year. I think we're going to do celery this year. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a smaller version, not as high, in other words, of this raised planter box. And it's going to go in this area right in here. We put some broccoli and some cauliflower in there, and it did pretty good. But the moles, we have a big problem with moles in this area, and they get up into it. So when you build these raised planter boxes, the first thing you do is put down a screen, a metal screen material, and then you build it on top of that. And the moles don't get into it. So that's what we're going to do this year. That's one of our projects. This is our raised bed, is our asparagus, and you can see some of the shoots are starting to come up. This is one of the earliest crops that we eat. And then these 3 whiskey barrels, we're going to get rid of those. We're going to put, again, another planter box, a smaller version of the asparagus box here. It's not going to be as high, in other words, but it's going to be roughly about the same size. And that's going to be for our lettuce and some flowers and so forth. And in this cage, we have 10 blueberry plants in here, and it's wired the top and the sides to keep the birds out. The ones that will strip the berries off of it, robins mostly. But the little tweets, the smaller ones, can get in through the wires. They don't do much damage. So that's we do really well with blueberries. In fact, we're probably still eating blueberries from a couple years ago. We give them away, but they're really good in smoothies. And then we have a loganberry bush here. And again, this one really produces as well. A lot of berries for a lot of smoothies. And then coming into this part of the garden, past the asparagus here, these 2 trellises are for peas, snap peas. We have a mixture of vegetables and ornamental plants. So these brown plants here are all sedum bushes. They're beautiful. When they get cut back, they'll grow, and then they'll have these flowers that are just spectacular pink in the fall. This is an azalea, and in this trellis we put beans, and these are oh, I forget what they're called, but the beans are about that long, and they have little red flowers that they come out of. And of course, no place in Sequim would be Sequim without having lavender plants, so we have 4 of them here. This is this is called a tayberry, and it's a combination of a raspberry and a blackberry. And I think of all the berries out here, this is one of the best tasting berries that's out here. And this is an artichoke bush that just keeps coming up year after year. We don't do anything to it except water it, and it produces a lot of artichokes. So more ornamental plants. This is called a 9-bark plant here, which it just transforms itself throughout the year. It's just a beautiful plant. And this trellis here holds a honeysuckle plant along with a couple of our hummingbird feeders. And then this whole area is just ornamental plants. And that bin over there is a frog hotel. So Not sure if it's working or not, but Amy found that on the internet of how to build it. And there's a solar light there next to it to draw on maybe some of the bugs at night. So anyway, that's what's there. When we bought this house, one of the things that we liked about it was this large center bay. It was big enough for our motorhome. But now that we don't have that anymore, we still have plenty of things inside the barn to store. We have this little electric car, and it has this little bed on the back, which really comes in handy. But this is Amy's garden cart. She rides this thing all over. All of her tools and stuff are in here. This area I kind of keep empty because what I do in my lawnmower, which is here, is when I come in here, I can just back up and come over to this part, which is all of our string trimmers and batteries are here. And then sitting on the lawnmower, I can just grab these things and put the battery in, or grab the string if I need to restring the string trimmer, and then just head on out the door again. So we keep our little trailer that we use a lot, hauling mulch and stuff around here, and our pickup truck. We use this a lot of times just to, what we do with all of our yard waste, the best way that we can take care of it is we cut it up in the case of branches, or just load the weeds into these garbage cans, and then the garbage cans go into the back of the truck, and then we go down the road a couple miles to a tree farm, and they take all this yard waste and load it into a huge grinder and make mulch out of it. And they charge like $10 for a full truckload. So yeah, we're good customers of theirs. We go there numerous times a year. And then this little red cart here is what I use to scooch around and pull weeds, mostly. And it works good. Sometimes that handle gets in the way, but that's how I pull it around if I'm not on it. So I just grab it like this and just pull it. But I'll put it back over here. On the outside here, when we first bought this place, shortly after we bought this place, we had a motorhome. We put 50 amp power out here, plus a normal power outlet. And then over here, this is where your sewer dump goes. And it actually goes into a small macerating pump. And there's a tank here as well. And then when that tank gets up to a certain level, there's a pipe underground here that goes all the way out and around and connects to our outgoing pipe to our septic tank system. And this is the electrical stuff that makes that happen. And then we have these water here. There's another one on the corner down there. And in out in our garden area, there's one on the far end of the raspberry bushes, and there's one over by the artichoke plant. And so that's what we use to water all this with. They call those pumps, or they call those water spigots, field hydrants. After you turn them off, they drain underground so they won't freeze. This whole garden area belongs to Amy. She takes care of this, she waters this. It's easier for her to get in here than me. My cart would have a hard time negotiating all this. So this is one of the areas she does. I'll show you our well house real quick. Not much to it. A lot more space in here than well equipment. That's just at the far end down there. Aha, you can see the dastardly moles are already in business down here. This is an apricot tree. It's kind of, it's seen better days. When it starts leaking a bunch of sap like this. And we didn't have any apricots last year. A few years ago we had about 150 or so. So hopefully we'll get some. You can see the two mole holes here. This area just gets hit by the moles. And this is a Macintosh apple tree. And this little guy produces spectacular crops every year. 500 apples roughly last year from here. And this is our little gazebo. We have a table inside that we store in a barn, and it has a pole on it, and it just fits in that hole right there. And then if you have people over, you can sit out here and enjoy the day. So I'll walk you out to the bluff. This area I'm walking on now, kind of maybe starting here, is the drain field for the septic tank, which originally was out over there, and a lot of it now is hanging off of the bluff, because this is the kind of bluff that shuffs or sloughs off throughout the years. And in fact, we lost some this past few months. If you can see, I like to let the grass go long, but in this area right in here, it's not very long, and that's because that's sloughed off. The long grass kind of gives me a way of seeing if there's anything that's fallen off. So you never know how much this bluff is undercut. So we don't go right to the edge. I stay back when I'm mowing. You can hear the waves come in. So this is truly life on the Strait. I don't see one up in the tree now, but that dead tree, the tallest one right in front here, that's a perch tree. And the eagles almost are there every day. one or two of them. But the female may be on a nest right now. So if you look back this other direction, way off in the distance, I don't know if this camera is going to pick that up or not, but that's the Dungeness Spit. And the Dungeness River empties down into that area. That spit, you can walk that entire thing. It wraps around and goes out to a lighthouse on the far east end, which you can't see from here. And Amy and I did that decades ago. It's 5 miles out. So you got a 10-mile round trip hiking in sand. It's not the easiest thing to do. But it's kind of an interesting place to go. And it's never submerged all the way. So the tides aren't going to be an issue. And we really can't see it, but dead ahead on a nice day, you'd be looking right across, 20 miles across the strait at Victoria, BC. And then down past this point that's sticking out, and again, you can't see it, it's not a nice enough day, but that's another spit. It's called Edith's Hook, and that's part of Port Angeles. And the Coast Guard is stationed down there, as well as the Navy. They deploy their submarine tenders from that area down there. Here's another weeding chore every year. All this around the back deck, under the deck, all these rhododendrons, and down the back side of the roadies. And wait until later this year. These rhododendrons, they don't all bloom at the same time, but this one here is like the first one to go. There's a couple of them here, and they're just deep red. But there's just a whole variety of colors all the way down this line that are just beautiful. But I weed this on that little red cart that was out in the barn. I can get right up here, and then actually I can just crawl and get to these weeds. A lot of times what I'll do is just weed them and just toss them backwards out onto the lawn here. And then they'll dry up, and then I'll come through the next time I mow. Sorry about that. That's one of my alarms for meds. And part of weeding is also trimming. And Amy has what they call a half moon edger. It's just manual, but she will edge a nice clean line all the way around here. And then I'll come and take the sod out and whatever to make it all nice. And I know it might look like a lot, but it's just, this whole area here is just a couple days maybe. And then these trees here, I will weed the front and around the sides and in the back, all the way down here. I like to keep this all nice and weeded out. We don't necessarily weed the back sides where the trees transition from these junipers into the Leland cypress trees. We'll weed the front part, but not necessarily the back. And of course, around this propane tank, we'll also cut about a 1 foot edge around the garden. It will start from that door and go down and all the way to the end. And so a 1 foot edge out into the grass. And I do that on my cart. I'll weed all that. And then the last part are these 2 gardens up front that Amy also takes care of. She weeds and waters these. This heather, these purple heather plants, the deer just love to come up here and snack on this stuff. This green bush next to the tree is a hellebore bush, and it grows huge. And I'm not sure what the one behind it is, but that is just an incredible tree or bush. Part of it will turn bright red. The leaves will be kind of a variegated green and white, and then bright red leaves will grow in there. And it's just, wait until it blooms. You'll be amazed. And then the highlight of this area is that bush that looks dead in the middle, but it's not. And that's an azalea, and it's just a beautiful orange color azalea. One of the prettiest azaleas we've ever seen. And in the plants that go into this planter box here, most of them, they're all plants, they're plants that the hummingbirds like and the bees like. And they will grow up to the level of the deck and above. So it doesn't look like much now early in the year, but that's what will happen. So these stairs, I just go up these stairs one by one. And then out on our deck, you can see the sand. We're constantly battling sand in this area. The wind just blows it everywhere. But we will blow it off and wash it off if we have to. And then we'll clean off our chairs and everything out here, and we have the cushions inside the house. This is a nice little fire pit, propane fire pit. And it's wonderful to sit out here at night and just listen to some music, or in the summertime when it's warm, just to sit here and look out over the view. Right now you really can't see the mountains too much, but when it's clear out, they're just as big as can be.